Welcome to the Jay Show. My name is Jay Smith. It's good to have you on board. What we're doing here in this show is unpacking Islam. We're looking at it critically. We're looking at many different facets of Islam. We're especially looking at the historical problems. In the last show, we unpacked 5 different areas that we'll be going into, delving into, looking at areas that no one really has looked at before. And of course, one of the biggest problems concerning Islam is the Quran itself. That is their holy book. This is the book we're talking about. This is the Noble Quran. This is the book that everybody reads all over the world. This is the book that we have here in Britain. This is the Hafs Quran. This is considered to be the authoritative Quran. Now, when I say Quran, I'm talking about this section, the Arabic section. This would not be the Quran. The English part would be known as the meaning of the interpretation of the Quran. Muslims that I talk to don't believe the Quran can be translated correctly. Therefore, you have to go to the Arabic. And we're going to talk about this Arabic Quran. There have been many claims about this Arabic Quran. And I'm going to bring in a special friend, a guest today, Hatun Tash. So good to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Jay.
We're going to be doing quite a bit on this book, aren't we?
Yes.
And we're going to be actually unpacking a number of serious questions. And these are serious because these are questions that Muslims should have been asking, have not asked, so we're going to ask them. But we're not just going to ask the questions, we're actually going to try to come to conclusions on them. Now, one of the first concerns, how is it we even know that this book is what it says it is? Now, tell me, what do Muslims say, or where do they say this book comes from?
Muslims believe Quran came from Allah through angel Gabriel to Muhammad from 610 to 632.
So over a period of 22 years, it was sent down piecemeal in 2 different cities, one Mecca, the other Medina, to a man named Muhammad, considered to be the prophet because of this book. And because of the fact that it was sent down by the angel Gabriel, it is different than any other book, right? It's different than any other scripture. That's what they claim.
They would tell us Quran never changed. It is perfect as the way it is revealed, not even dot change. And they would tell us every Muslim from different countries, if you bring them together, they would still tell you it is the same Quran.
So you're saying not even every dot. Now you're talking about, it's very difficult to see this. We'll be talking about this a little later. You're talking about the diacritical marks, the dots above and below the line. We're going to unpack that at a little later stage. But they say that even the dots are exactly the same. Let's just back up a little bit and let's talk about what you're assuming, because I'm assuming that someone somewhere has actually asked this question and has actually come up with a critical edition of the Quran. Am I correct?
No, we don't have the critical edition of the Quran. I can go to bookshop and then buy the critical edition of the Bible.
Yeah.
But I cannot go anywhere and buy the critical edition of the Quran.
You cannot find a critical edition of this book. Yet that is one of the first things you always do. So what's this Quran?
So we don't have the Quran of Muhammad. Muhammad didn't compile it. We don't have the Quran, first Quran, which is compiled under the Abu Bakr, 630 to 634. And then Uthman comes to sin around 650s. He make one perfect copy.
Another perfect copy, you're saying?
Yes.
We talked about it in the last segment, where he said he took 4 men to rewrite the Quran, and if they disagreed, to write it in the Qurayshi dialect. And we talked about that already, so we won't unpack that. Yeah. That already is a problem. Nonetheless, so this Quran here, this is what they claim is from Uthman, not from Abu Bakr. It's from Uthman around 650 to 652, roughly 20 years after Muhammad's death.
Yes.
Okay, that's what they claim.
Yes.
This is from Uthman. And it's exactly the same as that which is written in Uthman's copy, as that which was revealed to Muhammad by Gabriel, as that which exists in heaven on the eternal tablets.
Yes. So you can see Muslims already give up the Quran Muhammad received.
Let's just look at Uthman's Quran, 650, 652. They suggest that this is exactly the same, but you disagree.
I disagree because Muslims are disagreeing with other Muslims.
And I would like to know how they can prove it. Where is a critical edition to prove that this is the same book? Now, let me just give you some examples. We have lots of critical editions. You mentioned the Bible. Actually, I have a list here, a number of other critical editions that have been written on other pieces of literature.
Yeah, let me hear them.
Shelley's Frankenstein, Frankenstein, I read that when I was in high school. Did you ever read the book on Frankenstein?
No, I haven't done that.
Well, there have been many people that say that's not the original story, that there are other stories. So there has been investigation of manuscripts, of period pieces, of looking and seeing whether or not people have added to it, whether there have been other authors, whether or not the book we read today in our as a classic is the same thing that Shelley wrote. Now, that is today we now have a critical edition of Shelley's Frankenstein. Ives' 3-page sonata, there's now a critical edition of that. Madame Bovary in 2005 has just come out with a critical edition of that. Verdi's opera, here's a beautiful piece of music. Many people have disputed whether or not we have the original. That now, Chicago, the University of Chicago Press has finally come out with a critical edition of that. The Diary of Anne Frank. Remember Anne Frank in the Second World War? People have said, no, that's not her original diary. So they've had to come out with a critical edition of that. The Ignatius critical edition of The Sense and Sensibility. A very famous movie has been made of that. The complete prose of T.S. Eliot. There's now a critical edition of that. Kiss Me, Kate. I remember seeing that when I was a little boy. That's a famous play. There's a critical edition of that. And the first critical edition of Ibn al-Haytham's On the Shape of the Eclipse, which is an Arabic Muslim actually text. There's now a critical edition of that, but not the Quran.
So let me just summarize what you are saying to me. So you are telling me we've got lots of Western writings on the topic of drama, art, music, diary,
poetry, all of which have been rightly disputed.
And we can find the critical edition of those writings, yet in 2017...
And that takes years and years to get to that critical edition, but that means you can trust it.
Yeah, and in 2017, somehow we cannot find a critical edition of the Quran.
Nothing of this book right here.
That's why our Muslim friends would tell us, therefore, Quran never been changed.
I dispute it as well as you dispute it, because I want to see how they can prove that this is the book that was written in the 7th century. This is the same text that we find in Uthman's pen, or under Zayd ibn Thabit's pen, actually, as we now know. I want to know whether that's the case, and nothing and no one has done anything about it, so we're going to do that. We're going to come up with a critical edition. Now, there's no way. Who are we? We're not scholars. We're nothing more than people who have done some investigation. But we're going to do, before we even get into that part, we're going to ask a much more, probably more damaging question, and that is this Quran, is this one that we have here in Britain, the Hafs version of the Quran in Arabic, is this the same that has been read and been recited all over the Muslim world today? The Arabic text, not the English, not the translation. We're talking about the Arabic text.
Muslim answer to that question is yes.
Yes. It's exactly the same Arabic that has been read and memorized, whether it is in Kuwait, whether it's in London, whether it's in Indonesia, all across the Muslim world. This is the exact same text read by everyone. Yeah. And I've heard this since I was, well, for 35 years since I've been working with Muslims. I even remember hearing this when I was a little boy in India. Yeah. You've had it your whole life. You've heard about the fact that this is the same text. And we're still hearing that today. We just heard it. We hear it almost weekly at Speaker's Corner. But you somehow doubt that. And why is it you doubt that?
I doubt that because, first of all, I look at the Islamic tradition. I read the Sahih Bukhari, I read the Sahih Muslim, and other hadiths. They tell me there were lots of confusion regarding the Quran. And I hear from my Muslim friends, they tell me, no, there is only one Quran. I've been privileged to travel some Muslim countries where I was able to go to bookshop and buy different versions of the Arabic Quran. So when I saw those different versions of Arabic Quran, I've been privileged to look into them with Arabic speakers to see, are they exactly the same or not? Answer is no, they are not the same.
Oh, wait a minute. Now you're saying quite a bit there. You have been around to different countries. You have also had other people brought Qurans from other countries. Can you name some of the countries that you're talking about?
So you can buy those Qurans in Morocco, Jordan, Sudan, Somalia, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia.
You're talking about these Qurans right here on the table. You're talking about these Qurans that are right here.
Yep.
These are the Qurans that you have gone around to, and you're telling me, you're saying that these Qurans do not say the same thing as this Quran?
Yes, they are saying something different than the current Quran you are holding in your hand.
So let's start with the first one.
In my hand, I've got the Al-Susi's Quran. Al-Susi is one of the students of Amir ibn Abdul, who was in Basra. So Al-Susi's Quran, this is number 1. Susi died around 874.
Hey, well, hold on a minute. 800. This is the 9th century.
Yes.
These aren't modern differences. These are ancient differences.
Yeah, it's not surprising to many Muslims. They knew about those variations in the time of Muhammad, in the time of Uthman, and even in 9th century. So the Quran I am holding.
So are you watching and listening to what she's saying? This is not a modern polemic or even an apologetic. We're talking about an ancient polemic. This is 800. Al-Susi is 800.
874.
874, and Muhammad died in 632.
Yep.
So you're talking about little over 200 years after Muhammad. You already have a different reading of the Quran.
Yeah. I wouldn't use the word reading. I'm talking about different Arabic writings. So, again.
Okay. I'm going to say reading, and you're going to prove me wrong, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay. I'm making the claim, and Muslims have always told me these are just different readings. Qira'at, ahruf. That's what they are.
I hear lots of things from Muslims, but in 2017, because they even able to produce the critical version of the Quran, I don't think I can take their word on it.
We're going to take on it. Let's look at some other ones, okay? Here is Abi Jafar. Let's get our Arabic speaker to repeat this one.
Abi Jafar.
So this is Abi Jafar's Quran. It is Al-Doraway, okay? And it is dated 700, 747.
700. So you're talking about, this a little over 100 years after Muhammad.
Yeah, this Quran comes actually from Medina.
Oh dear. All right. Let's do the third one.
Yaqub.
Yaqub's Quran, which is again dated around 820, comes from Basra.
Okay, so around 200 years after, a little less than 200 years. This is the Duri Abi Amr al-Basri. Could you repronounce that?
Al-Duri an Abi Amr al-Basri.
This is Abi al-Zaraway, okay? And again, this Quran comes from Kufa. This Quran is the same, goes back where the current Hafs Quran comes from.
Okay, let's try this one here. Go ahead and pronounce it.
رواية حفص عن عاصم وبالهامش قراءة ابن عامر.
Ibn Amir Quran comes from Damascus around 736.
736.
Yeah, it's only 100 years after
Muhammad. That's a very early one. Okay, this one here.
This is Al-Doraway, because you've got lots of different ways, and it is dated around 843.
843.
Yeah,
okay, so
it comes from Kufa.
Okay, and here we have, and I'll let our Arabic speaker pronounce this one.
Al-Layth ibn Khalid.
This Quran again comes from Kufa and dated around 864. When I say dated, I'm talking about the person who has linked with this Quran died around 864.
Again, over 200 years after.
Yeah.
All right.
And also, if you look at here, this Quran is already telling us what are the disagreements this Quran has with the Hafs version.
Okay, hold on a minute. So that down there in the Arabic is saying that this Al-Layth al-Khalid is different than the Hafs Quran. So it's already admitting that.
So this Quran margins are the Al-Layth ibn Khalid, yet also we see Duri's writings in it. Duri and Khalid are the students of the same person.
Okay.
And it tells us what two students are disagreed from one another.
So they can't even come to agreement amongst themselves, and they admit that on their cover.
Yes, when you kind of look into that, you can see 336 differences.
There's 336 disagreements.
Yes, and main student is disagreeing with 5,000 words with the Hafs Quran.
And there are 5,000 words that differ with this Quran that we have today.
Yes.
Wow, wow, wow. Now, why haven't we been told this? See, this is what we need to do. This is what a critical edition would do. Let's continue on. That's number 7. Let's try number 8. Let's get the name first.
رواية ورش عن نافع من طريق الأزرق.
So this is Warsh Quran in Al-Azraq way.
Okay, now Warsh, let me just say this for the people who are listening. Warsh is another school almost of Qurans, you might say, of readings that are very popular in North Africa.
Yeah. So Hafs Quran is the Quran in the beginning which was sent to Kufa. Warsh Quran is in the beginning which was kept in Medina. Okay, and Warsh, who is the Imam who he died around 812, approximately like 200 years after 108 years after Muhammad. This is his Quran, and he has 3 different Warsh Qurans. So this is the one called Al-Azraq way.
There are 3 different Warsh Qurans.
Yes, we've got 3 Warsh Qurans.
It's getting worse and worse as we speak. You're starting to disillusion me, Hatun, is what I'm saying. I thought it was always one Quran, exactly the same, everywhere in the world. You're already coming up, we're on number 8 now, and you're already saying within Warsh, which is another derivation, and there's 3 different Warshes, you're telling me.
It is. I think it is shocking because you would meet sincere Muslims who have been reading the Quran, reciting the Quran, and they know only there is one version. Yet, that's not true. That's not true. So this is one version of the Warsh Quran.
Okay, we need to keep going because I see the time is going. Here's number 9. If we get our expert over here to read it.
رواية ورش عن نافع من طريق الأصبهاني.
So Warsh Quran in Al-Spahani version.
Okay, here's the second Warsh again.
This is the second Warsh.
So this is what we've just been talking about.
Yeah.
All right, let's go on to another one. Here is number 10.
رواية ابن جماز وبالهامش رواية ابن وردان.
Okay, short version of that. This is Ibn Jamaz's Quran. And Ibn Jamaz's Quran comes from Medina. Ibn Jamaz died around 786. And then in margins, we see Ibn Warden's Quran in this one, which 2 students are disagreeing. There is only 28 disagreement between 2 students.
Okay, so this is about 150 years later.
Yeah.
This has been written, but it also admits that there are 2 students from this man who actually have 28 disagreements within them.
Yes, yet this Quran is disagreeing with the Hafs Quran, which people are reciting in all over the world in 3,085 different areas.
Yeah. Oh, hold on a minute. Now you're really getting me confused. Are you saying there's disagreement between the students, and then there's disagreements between that book and this book over 3,000 times already that you have found? And these are the ones that you have found, but there may be even more that other people are going to find even as we go on. Oh my, it's getting worse. Okay, now we come up to number 11. Go ahead and let's get the word.
رواية الدوري وبالهامش ما خلفه فيه السوسي عن أبي عمرو البصري.
So short version for that is this is Al-Duri's Quran. What Al-Duri is disagreeing with Susi. Susi and Al-Duri are the students of the Abu Amr ibn Allah. So Al-Duri is disagreeing with 4,645 difference with the Hafs Quran.
So I thought 3,000 was bad enough. You're saying this one has 4,300.
I'm saying Al-Duri is disagreeing with the Hafs in 4,645 different words.
Over 4,600 different.
Yet, so this is what Susi is disagreeing with Duri. Susi is disagreeing with Duri, who took this from the same teacher in 2,486 words.
Oh my dear, it just gets worse and worse. Okay, let's continue on with number 12.
رواية خلف عن حمزة من طريق الشاطبية.
Yeah, that's the Shatabai of the Quran. It is not with us right now. He died around 843.
Number 13 is not with us as well.
قراءة الكسائي من طريق الشاطبية برواية أبي الحارث وعلى الهامش ما اختصت به رواية الدوري.
Okay, that's a whole mouthful, a whole sentence. Let's go on to number 14. Number 14 we do have here.
رواية شعبة عن عاصم.
Yeah, Shoba's Quran dated around 809.
809.
Yeah, it is from Kufa, from
basically
where the Hafs comes
170
from.
years after Muhammad, you have his coming on. Number 15 now.
قراءة ابن كثير من طريق الشاطبية برواية قنبل وعلى الهامش ما اختصت به رواية البزي.
So Ibn Kathir's Quran, Al-Shahabatiya way, and it contains narration of Kumbul and Al-Bazi.
Okay, so let's go on to number 16.
رواية هشام ابن عمار وبالهامش ما خلفه فيه ابن ذكوان عن ابن عامر الشامي.
Okay, Hasham ibn Amir's Quran, which Ibn Zakwan is disagreeing with him. So, this Quran has 1,347 differences with the Hafs Quran, with the Hafs Quran, yet also two students, remember it says what the Ibn Zakwan is disagreeing, contains 614 differences.
Between the two students.
Between
and
two
over
students.
1,000, how many?
1,347 between...
With that and this,
Yes.
with that and this. And within that, there's another
Yeah, two students are disagreeing in 614.
600 between them. And it puts it in the margin, does it not? And we'll
Yes.
see that. We're
Yeah.
going to look into that
On
in
the-
more depth.
It is very easy actually. In the Arabic writing, it tells us there is disagreement in this
Between
Quran.
them. So they're
Yeah.
they're open about it. Isn't it fascinating that the people who actually publish these works are quite open about it?
Yeah.
Muslims here in the West are not. They have not told us. They are not even aware of this.
Yeah.
Let's continue on. To number 17.
رواية البذي عن ابن كثير وبالهامش رواية قنبل.
This is Al-Bazi's Quran, which is dated around 864, and this comes from Mecca.
Okay, let's go to number 18.
رواية خلف عن حمزة وبالهامش رواية خلاد.
Okay, this is Khalaf's Quran, which is disagreeing with Hafs Quran. Hafs Quran in 2,892 words.
2,892 words.
And it is again dated 9th century, 843.
Okay, 9th century. So we're getting in thousands of differences. I mean,
Yeah.
I thought there'd just be a few.
Yeah.
But these are thousands.
Also, this Quran contains two students' Quran. In this Quran, their writings, and these two students are disagreeing with 601 different areas.
Okay. Now, we've said this a few times. Help the people who are watching this. What you mean by two students and disagreements of two students?
So what happened was in the beginning, when Uthman compiled one perfect copy, he sent the Quran to cities with one person who knows the Quran well and the Quran. So as Quran went to cities, people came to learn the Quran. So in here, for example, our teacher is Hamza. Hamza has two students. One of them is Khalaf, other one is Khalat. Khalat and Khalaf takes the writings from their teacher Hamza, yet the two students are disagreeing what their teacher taught.
Between them, even more than what their teacher taught. So
Yes.
even as you get from generation to generation,
Yeah.
the changes increase.
So teacher is already disagreeing with the main version of the Hafs version, Hafs Quran, and students are disagreeing between them as well.
Okay, let's continue on. Let's go to number 19 now.
رواية شعبة ابن عياش لقراءة عاصم ابن أبي النجود من طريق الشاطبية.
Okay, so that's number 19.
Yeah. Shoba ibn Ayash Quran, this is Al-Shahbata way. And it is disagreeing with the Quran, with Hafs Quran in 504 words.
Okay, let's go to number 20 as we bring that one up.
قراءة ابن عامر من طريق الشاطبية برواية هشام وعلى الهامش ما اختصت به رواية ابن ذكوان.
Okay, so it is Ibn Amir's Quran, Al-Shahabatiya way.
All right, and that one disagrees with this one. Now let's
Yeah.
continue up. Now number 21.
رواية قالون عن نافع.
Yeah, this is the Qalun's Quran from Medina, dated 835.
835.
Yeah.
So basically we're talking about 150, 160 years
Yeah.
afterwards. All right, let's go to number 22, which you have right there.
Yeah.
رواية حفص عن عاصم وبالهامش قراءة ابن كثير.
So Ibn Kathir's Quran, which is disagreeing with the Hafs Quran in 1,542 words.
1,542. Again, over 1,000.
Yeah, and it is dated around, Ibn Kathir died around 737.
737. So we're
Yeah.
talking roughly 100 years after Muhammad.
Yeah.
You have that. All right, let's go now to number 23.
رواية ورش عن نافع.
Yeah, so this is the Warsh Quran. This is the third Warsh Quran. Remember, we looked at the Al-Azak way, Asahaba way, and this is the main Warsh.
All right, let's go to number 24.
رواية روح وبالهامش ما خلفه فيه رويس من قراءة يعقوب من طريق الدرة.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is the Ruh Quran. Also, it contains what Ruwais, who is the other student, disagree with Ruh. Their teacher is Yaqub al-Hadrami, This Quran comes from Basra. So main Quran, Ruh Quran, is disagreeing with the Hafs Quran in 1724 words. Yet two students are disagreeing with one another. Rawais versus Ruh are disagreeing with one another in 468 words.
Here we go. Disagreeing after disagreeing. Okay, now we come up with number 25.
رواية حفص عن عاصم وبالهامش رواية شعبة طريق الشاطبية.
Shohaba Quran in Al-Shahabatiya way, and it is disagreeing with the Hafs Quran in 618 different words.
Okay, now we come up with the last one, which is this red one here.
رواية قالون.
So this is the Qalun Quran in Abi Nasnet's way, and it is disagreeing with the Hafs Quran in 1732 words.
Now,
So it comes from Medina. And lastly, of course, we didn't went through this one. This one is the Hafs Quran.
this is the one
This
we
is the
thought
one-
is the original.
Yes, this is the 27th Quran. This is the main Arabic Quran which people are reciting mainly
And
today.
when was this one created?
Around 1900s.
1924.
So 1924, we've got the official version.
So this
comes
is the
from
newest
Saudi.
of all of these.
Yeah.
This is the most recent. It's only 93 years old, and it disagrees with every one of these 26 that you've just put up here,
Yeah.
that you can see on your screen. All those 26 disagree with this book.
Yeah.
This is the one that they have finally come up with. How did they come with this book? How did they finally compile this book? Those scholars there in Egypt at Al-Azhar University, there in 1924, how did they come up with this script when there are so many differences? How did they know which one to use? Well, obviously they didn't, because you've already said that some of these have thousands of differences between the one they have here.
Actually, just looking from the different perspective. So we've got 26 different Arabic Qurans plus Hafs Quran. When you look at the writings, when you look at the variations in it, if Warsh Quran, which comes from Medina, is disagreeing with Hafs Quran, mainly other authors are supporting Warsh.
That's fascinating. No, we've
Yeah.
got to end it there because we've run out of time. But you've seen already there is a real problem, and I hope all of you are looking at this. We're bringing up something that nobody really has talked about. We're going to show you in the subsequent segments exactly where those differences are. We're going to show you so that even you who don't speak Arabic, who have never read Arabic before, can actually see the differences, and you're going to see exactly what we're saying. And this is going to be explosive. Hatum, thanks so much for coming
Thanks
on
for
board.
having me.
We'll come back and we'll start and we'll unpack each one of these so they can see it clearly exactly what you're saying.
Thank you.
God be with
Thanks
you.
for
We'll
having
see you
me.
next time.